Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to another dive into the mire that is the forums for Final Fantasy XIV, the official ones at that. Now, we've done a couple of these videos already, and they've just been looking at general topics, just seeing what's hot at the moment. This time I figured we would do a full-on patch 6.3 edition, where I'm going to be looking specifically at threads that target patch 6.3 content. That means there may be some patch 6.3 spoilers. If you haven't done the story yet, I would click away because we are reading just through posts, and while they may be spoiler tagged, I need to read them to understand the entirety of the post. So just in case any of the threads end up having that, this is your warning to click away now. But otherwise, the first two videos went okay. There was some negativity, a little bit of bait, I think. But, I'm hoping that just because it's a new patch and it's been a week, that it's not too crazy, right? So I already regret that statement. I literally saw, this was, I think, the first thing, review of 6.3 story content. I mean, literally perfect for this video, but, it's a long post, and I don't want to paraphrase and get things wrong because then it's not in the spirit. So I think we're just gonna, maybe this is the whole video. I don't even know what to do. Okay, let's start. I decided to resub and play through the current MSQ as well as having watched a playthrough of the Alliance raid so I could weigh in on them. Though to be honest, my main motivation to return this week is limited to me wanting to get my hands on the latest FOMO PvP set since mages have little to no armor, let alone caped options in the game. Feel like that's a fair, it's coming off a little strong, but it is fair. They did say we were going to get series rewards available later, but they said that before we even got series, and that statement has never been made again. So I am, not a big fan of the lack of communication on that front. So I'm hoping they have something to say about that in the near future. My interest in any storyline outside of Pandemonium remains low overall, which sets the tone for my thoughts contained within the following spoiler tags, despite desperately wanting the game to return to my good graces. All right, setting the precedent that it is their opinion, that is, even for a long post like this, very good to do, because even if you absolutely despise everything, as long as you try to avoid making sweeping statements that you present as fact, it's good. And to be clear, I think I said this the last time we did a video, I think we all do that from time to time when we're feeling heated about something. So I practically expect it in this post as well. It hurts to see the game in such a state after the many good years I've had with it. Okay, just a little bit of a, not a tonal shift, but I can see where this is going. Genuinely, I tried to give this patch as fair a chance as I could, and I hope this feedback proves more valuable than the unconditional gushing elsewhere. Okay, I can see a lot of malcontent towards people who did like things, which is usually not a good sign. Because people have different tastes. Like, I like the MSQ this patch, but I like things that are, I like the back and forth between something that's slower and builds on things versus something that's kind of go, go, go. And I feel like there was a good, I guess, mesh of those things in this MSQ. Oh, no. Oh, this is going to be the whole video, isn't it? Why did I say I would read the whole thing? Okay, maybe we don't read the whole thing. Oh no. In the past, at least the Antagonist faction made up for the perpetually lackluster state of the main cast following the breakup of the Heavensward party, but that is no longer the case. Golbez, despite being one of my favorite Final Fantasy villains, still has little intriguing aspects going for him. Words can't express how let down I feel by both him and the Archfiends having been reduced to mere monster of the week filler. I recently played through Final Fantasy IV, and I gotta say, I feel like 14's done a better job with these characters than 4 did, and that's natural because of the era 4 was made in. You couldn't really do nearly as much with them, and I think the other thing is that it's leading us into expectations of what will happen with Golbez in the rest of the story. But the Archfiends were filler of the week monsters or monster of the week filler in that game. They have a few like text lines each, and then they come back with 1 or 2 more text lines later, and then they're gone. So I can't really say they've gone in a worse direction with them. Once again, the writers are choosing to be philosophers instead of focusing on telling a good story, and gave us more chores combined with what is a friend stuff instead of getting to that point already. Except when they finally did, the actual motivations of these antagonists is just to die. Seriously? Was I supposed to find this deep or meaningful? Who is this being written for? Not even 13-year-old me would have been able to stomach this. Yeah, when people have been living in a 12,000 year life of not being able to die and just everything they had left behind. I mean, the problem is it's retreaded, but even still, it's not retreaded in exactly the same way. It's also a fallout of something that was caused by the Ascian. So I have no idea who thought it'd be a good idea to bring back the twins this patch, but their presence was as grating and unwanted as always. Okay, is this all about the twins? Because this is one of those things that, yes, it's clearly still opinion based, but it's, I don't know. This seems like it's more just there's like a backstory to how this person feels that's probably not present here. Zero and the power of friendship nonsense writing. They're going with Reacher's uncanny human pretty boy face being the exact opposite to what those of us want a male Al Ra in the party want. What, did you want him to be ugly? I don't understand. All Lalafels in the game 7.0 is set to star the one and only Kryl. Estinian's cool factor being reduced to one-off lines combined with destroying his iconic look with the ponytail lends him no favors. All right. Some strong feelings. And for the love of Christ, can we get rid of Y'shtola already? I do want some people to go, but I've already come to the consensus that she won't. At least she keeps herself involved in things actively and is regularly working towards a certain goal. I'd rather that than characters that don't do that at all. So as long as they keep her in that role, it's perfectly fine. I enjoy the dialogue with her. Calls her Hermione Granger. Yeah, see, now it's getting a little intense. Let's see. The game did an excellent job of writing a female heroine when it came to Isael, but instead the characters who have flaws are ideological differences that are allowed to grow over time. All you get is Y'shtola with the same bouts of lore expositions every patch with zero charm or charisma. I guess I was supposed to find a book. I will say they dropped the ball a little bit on Y'shtola. I kind of agree with this assessment, not as aggressively, just because they set her up to be to go a certain way and they never really paid it off. So I'm still waiting for that day. So I can give them a little bit of something like that. I have to skip through this. There's no way I can do it. Must once again voice my marked disappointment in the continued misuse of the animation budget for even more food scenes. The amount of time and money that has been wasted on this could have been made up twice over by a proper animated depiction of key events like this. Are you saying that this bun this lonely bun is the same amount of animation work as a full-blown summon depiction animation? Little did you know that when this bun was cracked open, Zodiark was born. And an Alizon animation rework, because goodness knows they need one. I don't have any opinions. I don't pay attention. I'm afraid to click through this next one. And I was going to do a whole video after this, but this might have to be the video. Maybe we do this in 2 parts. Okay, I don't know if that picture of the female Rogadin from the 24 minutes there because it's a good thing or a bad thing, and we're going to find out. What on earth are they thinking with Menfina's design? I've heard of a few other people criticize that. She's got like a gauntlet on one arm, but the crystals up the side. It's very strange in some ways. I don't dislike it, but I couldn't explain it based on her lore personally. Not only is the 12 one of the more uninteresting pantheons of gods I've encountered in video games, they also set to claim the title for the strangest looking two, with the way Menfina, the alleged lover, turned out. The massive downgrade from the likes of Azima, with Nemea being nothing interesting and Alone being just meh. Hey, I like Lenneth 2.0. How dare you? I love Valkyrie. In any case, I wasn't impressed by them bringing up Dynamis again. Did it go somewhere? Does it not exist anymore? Their duties were entrusted to them by Hydaelyn, and prayers Dynamis can influence their physical form. Seriously? I'm going to blow your mind. That's how all primals work as well. We didn't know that it was because of Dynamis, but they only have the appearance that they have because their followers have kind of willed that to be a thing. We also learned that in Eden. So them being worshipped and being beings that are akin to Hydaelyn, essentially, or at least one could defer to that because, they are Hydaelyn's, lackeys, for lack of a better word. Yeah, no, that's logical and continuous. I get not liking it or finding that it's not an interesting note because it's just another plot point. But no, it makes sense. Okay. They went from being boring to being an insult as to the state of the world's underlying mythos. Well, the state's underlying mythos was built 12,000 years ago by a race of dying people, one of which was trying to stop the ceaseless sacrifice of nameless people to a god that was just going to keep asking for more. Yeah, I feel like there's a few shortcuts being taken with that, but no, again, I can understand not being too interested in the Dynamis excuse. This entire experience was made more difficult by the presence of the latest... Okay, well, I got my answer. The latest insufferable scholar character, the female Rogadin, one whose name I won't even bother to type out. For all the prayers and Dynamis... Wait, you were just criticizing the Dynamis. Now all of a sudden you're offering it? There's some inconsistencies. This isn't real, right? No, somebody really feels this way. I gotta accept that. I did not bother to read Grahatia's dialogue and only got his line secondhand. My thoughts on him have already been articulated 1,000. Oh, they've been here before. 1,000 times over is not a good thing to admit in some cases. So they don't like, so far they don't like any of the characters. They don't like the story. They mentioned liking Pandemonium at the start, kind of, and they hate everything. And this pretty much sums up all the thoughts I have so far. And that I care to give until 6.4 delivers the end of Pandemonium lets me determine whether or not Heroi will steer the MSQ in a direction for 7.0 that I care to play through after the disaster that was base 6. Oh, did this person write the thread that's been around for like not 3 years? It's been around since like the week after Endwalker came out that says why it's a lackluster. Is this the same person? Oh, man, which has proven to be the most controversial and hotly debated MSQ the game has ever seen in the past decade. No? I don't think so. Will not play another expansion that is more concerned with its messaging and pushing certain... Wait, all of them... This isn't real. No, I go back to believing this isn't real. Heaven's Word remains a benchmark for storytelling. Hey, you know what? I can respect that take. That made Final Fantasy XIV a game worth investing in for all the defenders of Endwalker's pushback. I struggle to believe that they would be turned off by the return to that style of writing and world building unless they're deliberately choosing to be contrarians about it. No, but there can be multiple kinds and you can like multiple kinds. So there is that. I do not plan on returning for 6.35 since an elegant deep dungeon with a neon blue and white weapon no one asked for. No one asks for a lot of things that we get, but some of them end up being good. Combined with K-pop opera desecrating the moon further with Zodiark's grave right on the dirt. Well, it was his prison. Now it's his grave. If anything I've said about that sounds familiar, it's because my positions regarding these matters remain unchanged. Strongly believe that it's in the game's best interest to push back against some of these long-standing issues. Well, I mean, yeah, if they're dancing to K-pop, they definitely are long-standing. But update, lo and behold, the response to this patch on Reddit. Really interesting stuff here compared to the usual posts. People complain on Reddit all the time. What do you mean compared to the usual posts? The forums was the only pocket of negativity. Lo and behold, you said lo and behold twice. I do that though, so that's fine. The response to this patch, I don't think I want to click Reddit as a source. Not to mention, I try to keep the actual individual names out of it. That was a blast. So it started with very clear, this is my opinion, and man, did it just kind of become very, very aggressive. I definitely get the feeling that this individual, A, doesn't like anything Endwalker, which is fine. Not everyone has to like it. But two, that they're very aggressively passionate about it. And I said it before, but that absolutely happens. And when you are aggressively passionate about something, this can devolve. It can devolve into something like this. But there's also this air of I'm right and you're wrongness to it, I suppose. That's why when somebody starts by stating that's their opinion, but then tells everyone that if they feel a certain way, they are X and Y and Z, it's like, it's a bit weird. And again, I won't deny, I think we all do this from time to time, but I'm getting the impression that this person, given they said I've articulated those thoughts 1,000 times over, has done this before. So I kind of wanted for my own research, see if they are the original poster to that other thread that is still in like the first 3 pages of the forums every time I check. But whew, that was a wild trip. That could have been a video all on its own. I would recommend also they don't resub for 6.35. If anything, I would say they should probably wait till 7.0's launch so they can do 0.4, 0.5, and then right before, and then do 7.0 all at once. And then they only have to pay for 1 month sub instead of, 3 1-month sub things. That they could probably articulate it very similarly, but then again, they have to make the decision to buy the expansion. So yeah, actually, you'd probably want to at least resub in like 0.5 or something. Yeah, they probably need an alternative other than this though. Some points I agree, some points I don't, but very aggressively written. This is the kind of post that people get offended that this post exists, and not just like that was a wild ride, and boy was it. Well, another negative one, a lot shorter, thankfully. New Leap of Faith. I saw this and I was like, you know what? I love the New Leap of Faith. What was their reason for not liking it? No one. Literally, no one asked for this. Hello? I love Leap of Faith, and I like the more challenging ones. Of all things, the things you could have done with the gold saucer, you chose to waste time and resources on ... this. The New Leap is trash. It's too long. Way too long. You know, I was worried about that the first time I did it. I think the first time I did it, I took my time and it took just about 5.5 minutes without falling off past landing on another plank that was below me a single time. Since then, I could do it in about, even at a slower pace with a fall off onto another lower plank, I can still do it in about 3.5 minutes now. But I think for your average player, it is scarily long. It is the kind of thing that just for being a gate, I thought maybe they'd have like a checkpoint or something. And there's a very clear point where a checkpoint would absolutely make sense. So maybe that is a solution in the future, because I know that while I'm an aficionado, the average player doing this probably is a bit put off or scared. So I don't think it's trash, but I do agree that that part can indeed be scary because you fall off near the end and it is frightening to know whether or not you'll actually finish it. It's not fun. It's not fun because it's too long for the content. Okay, so it's specifically because it's a gate. This is a basic gate game. Basic gate games should not take this long to do for peanuts. Hey, for challenge logs, those peanuts add up. You could have given us a new game, but you chose to give us a new leap that no one asked for. A team of people literally got paid. Listen, everyone knows I do mispronunciations, misspellings all the time. Paid is, actually, no, I think I've seen that in some regions that you can spell paid that way. I remember somebody telling me that, but I think it might have just been lying. To design this content this terrible, that deeply offends me. Congrats on designing trash that wastes people's time for no reason. I can already see the comment. Like, you can, look, I mean, right here, look, I like it. The first reply right under it. I couldn't hide that one for this. I think there's fair criticism in regards to it's too long. But in terms of saying no one asked for this, or it's trash, or it's terrible, I mean, that's just like your opinion, man. Some of us are big fans of stuff like this, and most of the people I know have been blown away by the quality of it, but we're people who already enjoy this style of content anyway. I will say also, you could have given us a new game. That makes sense from an asset perspective in regards to, you know, the amount of area design that goes into it, because it looks like they put significant effort into it. But in terms of actually UI, QA, all that stuff, that ends up taking a whole lot longer. So we're already wondering, they said we were going to get something major, and I don't think this was it when they told us we were going to get a new major Gold Saucer edition. I still think it was either, like, much to my dismay, Blitzball or snowboarding or something like that. But the fact that we have not heard again of anything makes me wonder what happened to that in the first place. So I do agree we should get a new game. I would prefer a new game over a new Leap of Faith personally, even if it's Blitzball, which I have no interest in whatsoever, just because it's different. And I can make a whole video about why I don't want Blitzball, but that's a whole nother thing. But it's, you know, it's a lot of sweeping statements as opposed to an opinion piece. So it's one of those tougher to take seriously ones. Okay, I found all the negative ones. You know, the first two being relatively positive or well worded and constructed, we're making up for it with the fresh patch takes right here. Dear Squeenix, instead of using FOMO to promote PvP, I covered this earlier. They said they were going to release them later, so that way you didn't have permanent fear of missing out, but we've yet to see the fruition of that, and until we do, it's a bit nerve-wracking, so I have said that. Why don't we make PvP actually fun to... Wait, I love current PvP. I haven't had much time for it because I've been working on some other stuff. And don't get me wrong, PvP is not my primary interest when it comes to games in general. But I did go into some Clockwork Castle Town. I had a lot of fun. I haven't been on Bard in PvP in a while, so I went on that. I had a blast. I thought it was a fantastically fun new map with certain... with mechanics that I was, you know, happy to interact with. I liked doing pincer attacks. I liked trying to use the line of sight effectively. There's a lot of good gameplay elements there. I think in a higher elo, if I went all the way back to Crystal, it would probably feel less that way, but it depends. That's probably just an individual class per map problem. I know it's a radical notion for you guys, but at least give it some consideration. I think they did a fantastic job with it. The only things that I because I haven't done it much, the whole issue with the server tick on guard, and I think to some degree recuperate I never really had too much of an issue with. It was really guard that I always ran into that issue with. I don't know if they've made any headway on that, but that is the sole key thing that they need to fix if they haven't in any way done anything to it. And I haven't seen anything in the patch notes, so I guess I couldn't say one way or the other. But I think they did do a pretty good job of making PvP more fun to play. I think the job identity works well in both the small maps and the larger maps. And it just comes down to fixing those like few little things that I think would really iron out the whole experience. So just a hard disagree on the take. Oh man, fix portraits. Oh god. So portraits right now, they're not technically broken, but making them work consistently takes a lot of additional effort. And I kind of gave up on the portrait instantly, because for portraits, I literally just want to be able to say my adventure plate portrait is my instant portrait, regardless of class, regardless of job. I want it to just be a representation of like how I want something cool to look going into a dungeon. But you have to make sure like the gear set that you have saved locally matches the gear set that's in the instant portrait. And if you change any materia or gear and it's unsaved or they don't match up, that it doesn't work. This is absolutely a take I agree with. Can you make it work? Yes. Do people go through the effort to make it work before every dungeon, every trial, every roulette? Absolutely yes. Do I want to? No. I think it's overly convoluted. I think it's somehow gotten worse than it was when it first released, even though we've gotten more features and more updates to it. And yeah, I kind of, before I didn't even read the post, I read the title and I already know what it's going to be about. Been reading guides and asking people, and every time I think I have it ready, boom, my portrait appears in the default style at the beginning of raids, etc. This plays like a bunch of code exploded and we're engaging with pieces of it that are scattered all over the place. I'm sure if I were to dive deeper into this thread, which is 23 pages long, or no, there's 23 posts long, I would find more explanations of the things that I just said. But this is just a hard agree. It needs to be improved to be less frustrating than it is now, and just needs quicker options to get through. And of course, we had to look for a Paladin. I actually had to go to the tank thread to get this one. I think it's the first time I've gone out of general discussion for a video like this, but rant warning, listen, honestly, this doesn't even deserve a rant warning after the other posts that I looked at. So person, I have a feeling this is going to be very, very well worded. Rant warning, this change really rubbed me the wrong way and I just got a vent. I appreciate the heads up like that right out the front. Even if you disagree, when somebody again, preceding is always a good thing, especially in text format. I cannot stress how awful this one feels to play versus the pre 6.3 Paladin. Having separate physical and magic damage. I can see, so now I can tell they were just trying to vent because there's words missing. I've done that before too. I feel you. Having separate physical and magic damage phases was fun for the consistent damage output. Worked wonders in most of the current content, especially in current dungeon formats where the buff could be rotated between wall-to-wall pulls to save waiting for cooldowns. Yeah, I mean, you never really wait for cooldowns regardless for wall-to-wall. You just have to treat them all differently. There was no mind-numbingly boring downtime, which takes up 2/3 of the rotation. It felt more structured and complex and far more fun. The changes to Divine Veil are great. Having Holy Circle at the end of the AoE combo is a nice way to make it a slight more interesting, and defensives are definitely a change for the better. Agree with all of those things. But then the job was ham-fisted into this 2-minute window meta and stripped of almost everything uniquely Paladin. I don't know, I entirely agree with everything uniquely Paladin was taken away, because they still have all the button bloat that is absolutely iconic with Paladin. Now it's just a knockoff Gunbreaker. See, having played Gunbreaker and Paladin, I never felt this way specifically. Gunbreaker, I think about how you need to make sure you have all the setup, you need to know when to spend extra burst strikes to make sure that you don't overcap on your cartridges so your window can line up, and then trying to fit everything inside the buff window, plus the frequent OGCDs, the more than frequent OGCDs, the absolute disaster that is falling out of melee range for even half a second, the strictness, the rigidness, like all those things to me speak of Gunbreaker. This to me speaks of, we made sure your burst was over quick so you could get back to playing your job. Because it's, 5 GCDs, like 6 OGCDs along the way. and then anything else that you spend, you would be spending on a defensive cooldown. So more approachable, still very effective in that short window of time, still high mobility, just less of it with the Confiteor window plus the Divine Might window. So but I'm not a tank main, so I guess I really shouldn't be trying to say it is or isn't more or less like Gunbreaker. My opinion is not really super valid in the front. If we wanted that, we would play Gunbreaker. We wanted Paladin. Hell, even Goring Blade is a straight downgrade from its previous iteration. Now it does less potency on a longer cooldown and has been relegated to a solo weapon skill instead of part of being the 1-2-4 combo, which somewhat helped break up the monotony of the constant 1-2-3 combo tanks are notorious for. I personally enjoyed it as a dot with no cooldown. Yeah, okay. You could apply it any time and make the most of it, and it was nice to have damage constantly ticking away on the enemy. The only change it really needed was making damage from dots a bit more obvious. So the reason why Goring Blade is changed, and you know what, I'm going to infer this because it might have a more direct explanation on the job guide page where they specifically cover these kind of things. It was one of the big reasons why the job was so rigid. Now, it's not the entire reason, but needing to kind of base your entire rotation around timing Goring Blade applications was something that forced the super rigid strictness of Paladin's old rotation. So while getting good at it was definitely a rewarding thing, and this is something we've seen a lot with going from old job design to new job design, it also, in its own way, created very many problems. You have the people who won't play it because of those problems. You have the people who do play it despite those problems, and you have the people who I think this applies to, who find those things as challenges and not problems, or engaging and not problems to the overall job. So it's a bunch of different groups that I don't think are ever going to agree entirely, no matter what the in-application context is on how it's affecting the back-end development or even the front-end user experience. This has been a real mess of a change, and while the number might look better in the high ends of play, that's all moot if the jobs just stop being fun and the job gets worse than everything else and isn't at the top percentage high end. Yeah, I mean, this is a very clear opinion vent, perfectly reasonable post that is definitely shared amongst other people. Obviously, as not a tank main, I don't share nearly the passionate nature of this post, nor the frustrations, even as somebody who did like Paladin, but just decided not to play it most of the time, because if I was using a tank for something, I would go Warrior because I don't normally tank main anyway. Whereas now I'm in a position where I will play Paladin in that same content because I don't have to use my brain as much. But that's exactly what they were targeting. And I do think you don't target for the people who don't want to play your job. You target changes for the people who play your job and you want to make it better. So I never think I'm the target audience, for example, for a job change. Even if it does end up applying to me, I don't feel like I should be if I wasn't interested in the job before, even if it then makes me interested in the job later. But that's just my personal opinion. Either way, though, there's nothing too off the wall. This person's upset, and there's a lot of other people that are too. So we'll see what the reaction to that is from the developers going into 0.4 and all the way into 7.0 with whatever job updates we do see. All right, and that was a journey. I mean, we started on a journey. It mellowed out, though. The other 4 posts we looked at were kind of what I was expecting. I didn't know what I'd gotten into when I had clicked that first post, and I kind of want the answer to my question while I'm doing my outro here. So I need to go check. I need to find it. Let's see. Was that the same individual that posted the what is wrong with the Endwalker story post? I think did I cover that one in another one, because it's always there. No, I don't see it here. I might have to actually look for it, but either way, that is going to be a wrap for another another looking at the general discussion forums video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and hopefully we'll find some more interesting topics and criticisms inside of the general discussion forums in the future, and maybe we'll take a look at Reddit or something else sometime in the future as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see all of you in the next video, and until then, y'all have a good one. Take care.